Risky Brisky earns his nickname. Dale Jr. earns a unique title. Another rookie driver gets a win in the Craftsman Truck Series this weekend. NHRA news and a whole lot more coming up on this week's edition of Burning Rubber Radio. It's producer Wayne, Andrew DeLay, the NASCAR chef himself, John Hicks. And it's soon enough, we're going to start calling him the NASCAR gardener with him working over at Lowe's, Andy.
Oh my gosh, yeah, man! Over selling all them grills over there, buddy.
Yeah, right. He's over in the garden center. Be like, here, would you like a Cameron grill or whatever models there are nowadays for them?
Yeah, we've been selling a lot of Blackstones over there.
Ah, have you sold any big green eggs?
No.
That's something big green egg. Anyway, we won't go into that.
We Andy drops enough big green eggs, but
I wasn't gonna go there. But here we go.
All that duck doesn't lay any green eggs. We're good.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. And but we got to jump right in here into the news for the week here, folks. And this one caught my attention early on, Andy. And when I say it caught my attention, I think, I could be wrong by checking the ARCA Menard Series record books here. I believe ARCA just had its youngest winner ever this past weekend in Elko in Max Reeves winning at Elko Speedway at 15 years old.
Yeah, he's the youngest in the main series. I think he has a win in the East series or something. I think
he does. Yeah, he's got that record over there. But as far as like the primary ARCA Menard series, 15 is not only the youngest driver currently in the series, being him, but also the official youngest winner.
Yeah, for sure.
And
John,
John,
you got to get. Yes, it was, and John, you need to get him on here, buddy.
All right, yeah, we'll work on that.
Max Reeves, I think it'd be a great conversation to talk to that young man, just to see the elation in him winning his race this past weekend at Elko. And again, folks, one thing I love, and I know Andy and John feel the same way on this. One thing I love about this sport is you can be so young and be so successful.
Yeah, I guess, especially in the ARCA series. As long as they get a car count.
I mean, hey, you car count regardless. The fact is, the kids still won a race. I mean, that says something.
I cannot disagree with you. That is a big deal. And watch out, because he's going places.
Yep, he is definitely moving up in the world here when it comes to NASCAR and the ARCA Menard Series here. But now we got to shift gears here and move into Pocono, Pennsylvania, Long Pond, PA. Starting it off with the Truck Series, Andy, and an old friend of the show that we've talked to on numerous occasions got his first ever win this past weekend in the Craftsman Truck Series, and that being Lane Riggs.
Yep.
Yes, he deserves it. Lane, great job. Well, he had a win last year, and remember when he won and he jumped up on top of the truck and threw his arm out.
Yep.
But this is his first win of the season here. Congratulations, Lane Riggs. We're sorry about the Minister of Misinformation.
Hey, I said first win of the year. I didn't say first win of his career. I said
just trying to. You're trying to throw you under the bus.
You're trying to get me in damn trouble with him and Scotty. That's what you're trying to do. I ought to kick your ass for that one. But neither.
Oh, Andy.
That's awesome. Anyways, it was a great truck race. I honestly think that the truck race was the best race, racing-wise, maybe not story-wise, but racing-wise of the weekend.
Yep.
And
Pocono, yeah.
And yes, and one of the big stories that comes out of Pocono in my eyes is Corey Heim. The kid was kicking everybody's ass out there and snake bit yet again. I thought he was going to run away with a huge win. And nope.
Wow.
Yes, exactly is what I said whenever I saw things happen. And poor Corey. Anyway, he's going to the playoffs anyway with his wins earlier this season.
I mean,
just that he should have a whole bunch of wins by now.
he should, but and I swear every time he is snake bit, Andy, I have a weird feeling he's hearing this in his head every time.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Oh, you're not kidding.
I have a weird feeling every time that happens. That's the first thing that comes to his mind. Hello, darkness, you're my old friend. And,
Thanks for the copyright strike there, buddy.
the best part is it's not copywritten. We're all good. But
I'm just playing. I got to give you hell, buddy.
Well, yeah, you're gonna give me enough hell, and I'm gonna fart on you.
No, none of that, please.
Yes,
Please, not in the studio, Wayne. You'll run us all out like you usually do.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait, hold. Oh, crap, Andy.
No, oh my God.
Andy, reach over and
Please.
kick him under the table.
Oh, God.
Yes. I just kicked something. Wait, it's that duck.
I'm going to have to cook that thing and do a recipe on that.
It's this Friday. We're gonna cook duck.
Yeah, baby.
The duck's back on the spit, but we got to move along here now. NASCAR Xfinity Series news and notes here for you. And, we mentioned it right there in the opener. Dale Jr. earned himself a very unique title from this past weekend in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Not only is he a winner as a driver at that track, he is now officially a winner as a team owner and crew chief.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
I thought that was a big deal.
That was definitely a big deal. And from what I heard from folks that were listening to Connor Zilich's radio from this past weekend in Pocono, there were like I predicted, Andy, there were a lot of juniorisms.
I'm sure there was.
Hey, Junior's probably sitting over. He's probably thinking he'll go back and probably hear us later on if he even. I know I've heard he listens to the show occasionally, and I got a feeling he's going to go back and listen to the show and he's going to be like, "Wait a minute, I said some juniorisms."
Oh my God! Yes, we ought to go back and do some juniorisms from his racing. But anyway, oh yes.
That would be an interesting feature on Facebook. I'll tell you what, Kathy Wooden, our one of our social media content creators for our Facebook page here, if you can find some juniorisms for us and post them up on a reel on Facebook, that'd be fantastic.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, Kathy.
Yeah, Kathy, or even
trouble now.
or even one of our newest content creators, Chuck Ellison. Either way, either one of you guys, if you can find a bunch of juniorisms and put a reel together for it and put it up on our Facebook page, would much appreciate it. Very much.
And yes, we want to welcome primetime Chuck Ellison to the Burning Rubber Radio content creator crew. That's huge. I've known Chuck for a long time. He's a great guy. He's been a host here on the show back when they were trying to, not a host, but a guest, when they were trying to bring North Wilkesboro back to life, if you don't remember that. And so I'm kind of excited to have primetime Chuck on board here.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken,
and while we're talking to folks,
I think Chuck was part of the Save the Speedway crew, wasn't he?
He was, yeah, and he's saved NASCAR or saved stock car racing. Excuse me, is one of his things. So, anyway, good stuff, and of course, he's a member of all of us over there at Land of the Nap Car Outcasts, and one of the old timers over there. And then, really quick, while we're talking about folks, don't forget, folks, Wednesday we got a big update with Josh White on his ARCA run. I'm excited to hear what he has going on.
I think you were telling us in the private group chat that we have, Andy, that there's some kind of sponsor announcement?
A bunch, but also just a bunch of good stuff.
Very good.
To announce, really neat stuff. Excited about Josh and what he's going to be doing at Bristol, and then hopefully more this year. So.
Very, very good stuff and good to see there. But again, moving back into things here as news and notes are concerned here, again, Junior gets the win with Connor Zilic this past weekend in the Xfinity Series. So now he is, in effect, a Triple Crown winner when it comes to Pocono as a driver, owner, and crew chief. So
that's
big,
cool.
big accolades going out to Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Connor Zilic from this past weekend here in Junior Motorsports. But now we got to move into the NASCAR Cup Series, and Andy, I'll tell you what, we knew Chase Briscoe had the nickname Risky Brisky for a reason, but he took a huge risk on Sunday, and it paid dividends. He saved a bunch of fuel for about six laps worth of fuel, and that was able to propel him to the win over Denny Hamlin yesterday in Pocono, Pennsylvania.
Yes, a very popular win. A lot of folks, and Risky Brisky, folks may not have heard that before. Of course, that was given to him by our very own Dan Smith, one of our old hosts here on Burning Rubber Radio. Good, that came up with Briscoe and Bell in their dirt days, and in the mid-America here. So that's awesome to see Risky Brisky get the win.
And the cool part is he still acknowledges that nickname. Like every time I've seen him at the racetrack, I'll be like, "Hey, Risky." He'd be like, "What's up?"
What up, yo? Huh? You'll be like, "Huh? I ain't heard that for a while." Then I'll say, "Hey, Dan Smith says hi," and then you get a hug. Oh, yep. Dan Smith.
Yeah, right, exactly. If I remember right, I think that happened at Daytona too, didn't it?
Yep, definitely.
And it's the great things, Hey, folks, yes, we do cover this as media, and straight up, we do cover this as media, but we are also fans of the product, and so the fact that NASCAR might not like us and they look at us like we're all fat boys. The fact of the matter is, we are fans of the sport. If we weren't fans of the sport, we wouldn't cover it on the media side because even though money is good on the media side of things. The fact of the matter is, I'm just talking about in general, not just us, but in general.
I was going to say, where's the money?
Like,
we don't get shit here.
Wayne ain't sharing nothing, Andy.
Wow.
But
wow, exactly.
But either way, from somebody who's worked in the media for 20 some odd years, I can tell you straight up that in the right situations and in the right entities. Money is good to cover certain sporting events like NASCAR or the NFL or Major League Baseball, whatever the case might be. But at the end of the day, if you're not a fan of what you're covering, personally, I just don't think it's worth it to be covering it. And in this case here, the three of us, we are motorsports fans. Therefore, we can cover this in some cases it may be biased. Other cases it is unbiased, but the fact is we're fans. We love what we do.
That's right, and we are definitely grassroots media. Mm-hmm. We started the genre back in the day. We've been around 17, 18 years.
17,
so we're allowed to. Yeah, been around a day or two anyway. So,
and because
that's what it is. Let's see here.
Realistically, the only people that best us as far as like media is concerned would be MRN, PRN, Toby Christie, The Athletic, just a couple of other ones have us as far as like longevity is concerned, but we've been around quite a while.
Yeah, that's right. And just in case anyone doesn't know, that guy right there, yes, he's the guy that worked in the industry, the NASCAR chef John Dix. Mm-hmm. He flipped burgers for Tony Stewart and all those guys, but that guy, wrong way. God dang it, I can't get it. That guy over there, he's a business owner, and this guy right here is a cop. So, we have real world jobs.
Well, guys, Andy, if you remember, Pocono back in the late 2000s is where you and I met.
That's right.
And
Ricky.
And Wayne, I think Andy probably regrets that, but we won't go there. So.
No.
What are you talking about?
That's where I met Bobby Dale Earnhardt. So, we're going way back.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that you guys totally missed that, but I guarantee you this would be exactly what Ricky Byers would be saying. I guarantee you I don't regret shit.
Yes, exactly.
Which, by the way, folks,
Byers.
we're not making fun of his voice. He does legitimately not have a voice box, so he does talk like this because he's missing his vocal cords. But the fact of the matter is, when you get to know the guy, great guy, hands down. But moving on along here, we got a last little bit of news to touch on here, Andy. And actually, matter of fact, I thought about this while I was sitting here getting all of my prep and stuff together. I am bringing up Twitter real quick because I want folks to look at something that I'd found this morning when I was going through my notifications here, because Bob Pockris had posted something where here it is, where apparently you remember the in-season little tournament that NASCAR was going to be having, right? So catch this shit, okay? And I'm going to open the image in a new tab so that I can actually enlarge it, because it is definitely very fine print. So as far as the in-season challenge matchup for round 1, right now they have got, as far as like, and there's only 32 drivers that are seated out of 36 total charters, which blows my mind. I don't know what the deal is there. So Denny Hamlin got the first seed. Ironically, I don't know how he managed to do that, but okay. Ty Dillon, 32nd seed. Kyle Busch, 16th seed. Brad Keselowski, 17th. Bubba Wallace, 9th seed. Daniel Suarez, 24th. Alex Bowman, 8th. Logano, 25th. Christopher Bell, 4th. Ricky Stenhouse, 29th. Ross Chastain and Eric Jones, 13th and 20th, respectively. John Hunter Nemechek and Josh Berry, 12th and 21st. Chase Elliott, Austin Dillon, 5th and 28th. And the list goes on, guys. If you want to go over to x.com and search up Bob Pockris, who is a Fox contributor, you will see that picture right there. But now, the thing I'm sitting here trying to figure out, Andy, because this came from Racing Insights. This didn't come from NASCAR. The in-season challenge matchups for round 1 give you the matchup, their seed. I'm assuming career wins. I don't know for sure. And then they've got something for season, they got something for track, and they've got track type. And so I'm not 100% sure what the hell any of this means. So if NASCAR, if you could break it down a little bit for us and give us a little bit of a heads up on what the hell this is, it would be fantastic. But as far as the first round matchups here, you've got Denny Hamlin versus Ty Dillon, Kyle Busch versus Brad Kay, Bubba Wallace versus Daniel Suarez, Alex Bowman versus Joey Logano, Seabell versus Ricky Stenhouse, Ross Chastain versus Eric Jones, John Hunter Nemechek versus Josh Berry, Chase Elliott versus Austin Dillon, Risky Brisky versus Noah Gragson, Priest versus Byron, Larson versus Reddick, Blaney versus Hostevar, Busher versus Gilliland, Smith versus Cindric, McDowell versus Allmendinger, and Gibbs versus Haley.
Oh, are we done?
Yeah, trust me, it's a whole list of things here. And again, I have no idea from the tournament perspective why they skipped out on certain drivers, because and I see this in the comments where SVG was missing out of that list, Andy.
SVG is not on the list?
He is not in the in-season challenge matchups for round 1.
That's... Get out of here!
I was waiting for that giant air horn, because it's like red flag. And but I mean, you got guys like you got guys like Gilliland that are in here, that are in this matchup list. And don't get me wrong, Todd Gilliland has been doing a lot better this season compared to seasons previous, but he's still seated like number 30 overall. So it makes you wonder, like, what's actually going on here. But I guess time will tell with this whole in-season tournament. We'll actually, I'll tell you what, we'll double check NASCAR.com throughout the week and see if we can find updates on what exactly the whole deal is, and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, hold Bob, and he can explain it to us.
No,
yeah,
God.
Maybe, yeah.
trying to get Bob to explain something trivial like that. Don't get me wrong, I like Bob. He's good people. But explaining something trivial like that, you'll end up being like, huh?
Yeah, anyway.
Just
you
saying.
said we had NHRA news.
We do have actually one last bit of news, Andy, too, from the world of NASCAR, too, before we get over here. Did you notice how much those drivers were suffering this past weekend at Pocono from the Cup Series?
Suffering? You mean hitting the wall because their right fronts were blowing out?
No, a
No.
lot of them said they were dehydrated from last
Yeah.
week.
Exactly. There are drivers that are still sick. And this came from Brad Keselowski. I saw this tweet.
Right.
Where apparently during driver intros, you could still tell that over half of the field was still sick a week later from being in Mexico.
Well, you know, you race in a shithole country, you're going to have shithole problems. And that's literally.
And, here's what's even more interesting to that point, too, is that, and a comment that followed Brad K's tweet mentioned, Brian Blaney especially, where he got out of the car after the race on Sunday, literally fell to his knees multiple times because of cramping from dehydration. And at that point in time, with the dehydration, literally tried to stand back up to do an Amazon or a Prime Video interview for the broadcast. And people were noticing that he was barely able to stand for that interview. He actually had to be carted back to the infield care center by the AMR safety team post-race because of how bad off he was.
That's something they need to put in the back of their mind here if they go back to Mexico again, is they need to bring fluids. Don't drink the water there. As you can see, it ain't the thing to do.
Yep.
Personal guards to keep from being mugged going out of the hotel room,
Or just being heckled in general.
Yeah, heckled it, and a bunch of guys with 22s to shoot the animals that get near the tracks.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, guys, being prior military, when you go to other countries, you don't drink the water right off the bat, But I'm sure those haulers could have taken a lot of bottled water.
Oh, they could have, and they
some
probably
Gatorade
did.
and some,
but
things for them to hydrate. I'm just surprised at the level of our sport and the technology we have that they couldn't do that and they couldn't keep the guys hydrated. That just kind of blows me away.
That or even having a very specialized medical staff that it would be like a bunch of like travel nurses or travel doctors that have been to Mexico that could easily have IVs on standby, things like that to
like pro sports, other pro sports. But
exactly.
Whenever you put the big hat on and the drivers start, a night or two before the race, start La Cucaracha, and drinking up the tequila and all that stuff. Yeah, you're gonna get dehydrated.
Yeah, that's true. But the fact that it's lasted over a week though is a little bit insane to me. So we'll have to see what happens coming up this week as well to see if drivers have recouped any or if there's still ongoing issues. Because if there's still ongoing issues 2 weeks later, then there's definitely some huge problems that need to be addressed. But moving on in to the NHRA here, Andy, and when I say it was an emotional victory this past weekend in Funny Car, hands down, this one was a little bit of a tearjerker here because it was JFR versus JFR in the Funny Car final, and that being points leader Austin Prock going one-on-one with Jack Beckman, who is taking over the ride for John Force. And Prock beats him out just barely here. Prock ran a 4.061 at 318.02 miles per hour in his Cornwell Tools Chevy SS Funny Car to bring the win.
Wow. But hey, at least it was JFR on JFR, man. John Force Racing.
It definitely
love all
was.
of them out there.
And as far as like the guys that Prock defeated beforehand to do what he had to do, he beat Cruz Pedregon, which is another big name in Funny Car. Bob Tasker III, also another big name. J.R. Todd to advance on to the final here. I'm trying to see if there were any other...
Where were they?
They were actually in Dinwiddie, Virginia this weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they actually weren't far from where I am, which is pretty nice. Then Top Fuel, Sean Langdon grabbed himself the win at Virginia Motorsports Park. That was his third win of the 2025 season with a 3.94 at 319.67 miles per hour in his. And then, let's see, scrolling down a little bit further here, I had everything.
Gage Herrera win?
That's... You mentioned it, and I just happened to find it here. Gage Herrera had to chase down Angie Smith in the final in Pro Stock Motorcycle, but the points leader wins again at Virginia Motorsports Park with a run of 6.826 at 198.79 miles per hour on his Pro Stock motorcycle.
Cool.
And yes, Gage Herrera, you can... you don't even, you see, it's all like, Gage is going to win.
It's like waiting for the pitches to be released. But the fact that he had to chase down Angie Smith, because I do remember watching that final from this past weekend. He had to chase Angie down. I mean, she had at least 2 bike lengths on him. From the drop of the green, as far as the green light on the tree is concerned. And she had at least 2 bike links on him, but he managed to pull it back and win in pretty dominant fashion.
Yeah, he's Gage Herrera.
I mean, that is true. It is Gage Herrera. But either way, folks, that's going to wrap it up for the news for the week here on Burning Rubber Radio for Monday. And again, do be on the lookout. We're going to be back here Wednesday with Josh White and some sponsor announcements, a bunch of other cool stuff for his ARCA run coming up at Bristol Motor Speedway here in just a short amount of time. But in the meantime, I'm producer Wayne. That's Andrew DeLay. That is the NASCAR Show of John Dix. And we will see you on the other side.
Burning rubber, baby.